Aloha and hello. Welcome to Holy Matrimony. I'm James Fenimore. That's at James Fenimore _.
And I'm Trisha Fenimore. That's at Trisha Fenimore. You can also find the show at Holy Matrimony __.
Today we're brought to you by Sex Ed Reclaimed. Have you ever wondered how to talk to your kids about sex but don't quite have the words? Sex Ed Reclaimed has you covered with age-appropriate content made just for your family. Get curriculum that covers all the hard topics from a faith-based worldview. Kristen Miele has educated tens of thousands of students in multiple countries to encourage organic conversations within families about a gift God created. This education was made for such a time as this, so find your curriculum today at sexedreclaimed.com. Well, I've been talking about it, and it's finally here. It's our mailbag episode.
Where we answer questions from you guys.
Yeah, it's basically an entire episode of answering the internet.
Yeah, this is your dream.
This is
a dream come true.
This is my dream because we've got some real doozies out there. All right, so why don't we just dive right into it? We're
right in the deep end.
And full disclosure, Trisha and I get a lot of the same questions, so we kind of meld some of them together to help expedite the process.
Yeah.
All right, let's get it started. This was a good one. What is the root cause of jealousy, or is it just human nature? Well, what do you think?
Well, I struggled with jealousy a lot when we started dating. It was actually one of our foremost issues. And
I mean, can you blame her?
So regarding the cause of jealousy, though, and by the way, it's gotten, now it's like a non-issue in our relationship.
Can you blame her?
No. I did a lot of work, a lot of prayer, a lot of good teamwork with a great partner. And first of all, I just want to reassure you, it can be overcome. Like, there is nothing too big for God. Like, it can all be overcome. But what I want to say is, regarding the cause of jealousy, I do think some of it's human nature. It's weird. I was just thinking about this the other day. I do think some of it is just human nature of the practice of comparison. What do you think?
Well, it's pretty much one of the main tenets of like human history. So it's probably human nature, right?
Yeah.
I'm jealous. There's a commandment. I'm jealous of my neighbor's wife.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of my neighbor for his wife, I should say. And then there's also, I'm jealous of this country.
Did you say I'm jealous of my neighbor's wife?
Yeah.
Nowadays, there might be there might be people struggling with that.
It is a strange time.
We live in strange times. It might be the...
But there's also people like, I'm jealous of this country next door. I'm going to go conquer it. This is what has driven humans since we have recorded history. So is it human nature? It probably is.
Yeah.
But in order to become, a better person or more closer to God.
Or just not conquer and pillage and,
Well...
You're like, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, one thing at a time.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
I don't have an army to conquer and pillage it, but if I did, no. But the truth is, like, part of getting closer to God is fighting those human nature worldly things, right?
Yeah.
And putting them at bay and controlling them because of your faith and your love. And that goes for anything, controlling those emotions and those instincts sometimes are what make us human.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that makes us human, because we can control those things where animals can't. They just have their instincts and they run.
Yeah.
So, jealousy's tough. Having the grace and having the acknowledgement that it's an issue, I think, is huge. And that is the first way I think you could probably step out of it.
I think what I've learned in my life is that a cause for something is not a prerequisite to heal it. That was actually the very first video I made that went viral. Was I had been spending all this time asking why I was an alcoholic. Was it nurture? Was it nature? Was it genetic? Was it something that happened to me? Was it avoidable? Was it unavoidable? And then I came across a story in the Bible where people were talking about this blind man, and they asked Jesus, like, okay, why was this man born blind? And he said, so that the glory of God might be made manifest through his healing. And I don't think that the cause of a thing needs to exist in order to heal from the thing. We don't always have to understand why we struggle with and in fact, I would say that this hyperfixation on figuring out the why and the origin is almost just a clever way to keep focusing on the thing and keep nurturing that thing, when really it's like, okay, it's a problem, now let's deal with it.
It's funny, that's what attracted me to becoming a coach, because therapy is best, like, look in the past, solve these past traumas, which is important for some people. I'm not saying it's not.
It's expensive,
but
I say as somebody.
I don't like to live in the past. I like to focus on the future. And coaching is so goal-oriented. So it's like, great, I'm sure there's a big reason why this happened to you and why you are the way you are. But do you want to change it? Because that's what I'm here to help you do. I'm not here to figure out why you got there.
And I would almost argue, as somebody who had gone to a lot of therapists and a lot of sessions over the years, what I learned in that is that why is a bottomless pit. There is no end to the why. You could be talking about a great-great-grandparent who had maybe a drinking problem, and that's part of the why, or like family, and there's no shortage of family issues that maybe, there's no shortage of reasons why. With jealousy, it's like, well, we could talk about the culture and body type, stereotypes for women and men. We could talk about expectations with money, what social media says and what it doesn't. We could talk about all these reasons why we're jealous, but the why doesn't much matter. Because the why never stops. There's endless reasons why. And where there isn't, we'll find one.
So it's more about focusing on the solutions.
And forward.
And moving forward. Yeah. Although it does sound a little lucrative. Maybe I should have went that
I was going to say, I paid a lot of copays that I
We had a goal and I'm done. All right. So I think we're good there. All right. So we have our next question. This, again, was a combination of several questions.
Yeah, so if you hear a theme that you asked us about, it's probably been amalgamated and blended into...
I don't speak those words. How to deal with pet peeves in marriage. The floor is yours, my love.
Well, I think that we've joked a lot on this podcast about some of your pet peeves, like the dishes in the sink type of deal. But it's important to acknowledge... I, too, have many pet peeves, and I am, frankly, a tyrant when it comes to clean floors. And I could blame it on having toddlers, and they eat off the floor. It was far before we had kids that I was obsessed with clean floors. And then the other thing is crumbs on a counter. I don't know why crumbs on a counter would make me nuts. Until, actually, you went away on a business trip to New York, and you were away, and I don't even know at what point in it wasn't, I don't know I think we were living in New York, because I remember the house we were in. But anyway, long and short of it, you were away on a business trip, and I was at home, and I think it was before kids, and I missed you so much, and I was so bored without you. That's how you know it was before kids. But I missed you so much that, like, when I looked at the counters, I had this epiphany where it's like, okay, I could live in a world, because he makes a lot of crumbs. He still makes a lot of crumbs. And I looked at the counters and realized that they had been spotless because I'd cleaned them. And then I realized the crumbs are just evidence that he is here and in the house. And if the crumbs were gone forever, then it meant that he might be gone forever. And how much would I miss that? And that sounds really melodramatic, but I actually had somebody write in who had lost their spouse, and they said that they miss the very things that they complained about. Those pet peeves were the things that they missed the most. Those annoyances that really kind of got their wheels turning. And so in that moment, pre that, viewer letter, I had that realization where I was like, you know what? If crumbs mean that I get him here at the house and get to enjoy his company, then I'm almost grateful for the crumbs. And most days I can still hang on to that perspective, though the shoes still come off and the floors are spotlessly clean. So, progress, not perfection.
I cannot say the same about the dishes in the sink. I cannot say the same. You
haven't reached the level of enlightenment that I have?
I have not reached that level of enlightenment. I would prefer the dishes not be in the sink. Thank you.
Wait, what? For me not being here?
I didn't say that.
Well, that's like the trade-off is how I reframed it in my mind.
Well, that's not what I'm agreeing to. I'm just saying, please get the dishes out of the sink. Thank you very much. And I'll continue to take my shoes off at the front door. We have an accord.
I think as long as you both work toward appeasing the other's pet peeves, I think you're probably on your way. And to recognize that some of that is just normal in marriage.
And it's true. Like, it doesn't bother me nearly. It really doesn't bother me as much as we make it out to. It just annoys me. I'm not like, what are these dishes? No, there's never been that moment.
It's more like he'll look at me if I'm at the fridge and he's at the sink and he's like, really?
Yeah.
The plate and the
like,
the
it's
fork,
right
really?
there.
It's
right there. The thing is right there. You just do the thing. And like, if the dishwasher's running and there's something in the sink, it doesn't bother me. 'Cause I'm like, it's running. It makes sense that it's in the sink. When it doesn't make sense, okay.
I think that this personality type and my personality type, we marry each other because we were just out with a bunch of couples and it literally was like down the middle of these issues.
Yeah.
And so I feel like weigh in, you guys, in the comments or write us and share if you can relate to like one. It just seems to always be divided by personality types.
Like,
one who's late, one who's early.
Put a shot of water in the bottom of the cup so it doesn't like become hard to clean. Keeps it, easy. Dump it out, put it in the sink, whatever. I don't know what to do anymore. This was a terrible question.
I'm gonna leave my bowl with the ice cream in it in tonight, just to help you reach your level of enlightenment, honey. Just to help you reach that next level of
the
spirituality.
enlightenment's gonna come when I come into the bedroom while you're asleep, turn all the lights on, and show you the bowl.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Are you asleep? No?
If you did that, you would be a lunatic.
All right.
Okay. All right. This has gotten off the rails, guys. This is a serious podcast with serious episodes.
This is serious.
Serious topics.
This is serious. All right. Let's go to our next question.
This is the divide.
Please.
Serious
Yes.
personality, not serious.
This is why there's dishes in the sink. Okay. What can you do if your partner isn't a Christian due to a cult-like church in their past? That was a specific one. We did not meld that together. We don't have a lot of former cult members.
There weren't many of those, thankfully.
But there was also another question that was kind of a similar vein, but I think we might answer them separately. How do you handle it when your husband of 31 years isn't 100% in for Jesus, but you are? So...
Different shades of resistance, maybe, to Christianity?
Same issue. Spouse is all about it. Other spouse, not so much.
And then in one case, the spouse doesn't want anything to do with it.
Well, the other spouse, doesn't want to think,
about the trauma.
They have trauma from a cult.
Yeah. All right, so let's take the first one. Let's take the cult one first.
Sure.
What would your advice be here?
Listen, I'm a big believer of you push someone, they push back naturally. You guide someone or lead someone, they might follow you. I think that's, again, back to the human nature thing. I think that's human nature. I think if you put your hand behind somebody's back and just start walking with them, they're naturally going to walk with you. I think if you just walk up to somebody unannounced and push them, they're going to push right back to stop you from pushing them. So that is human nature in a nutshell. Don't force anything. Don't push anything, because if you do that, there is going to be resistance. Stop.
In any scenario.
Any scenario. Live a happy life. Live it, I would say, show how much, not that this just means to you, but how it positively impacts you. Become attractive in this faith. Be the flame, not the moth. You know what I mean? Don't chase them to come. You want them to start coming. What's going on here? You know
because
what I mean?
the expression of your faith is so attractive that they become intrigued.
Yes. And I think that's a very powerful tool that not a lot of people realize can be used in all walks of life, not just dating or, seeking out friends. Like, you can use that everywhere. And the God's honest truth is, you believe that it's an attractive lifestyle. So it's not like you're a fraud, you're not like, playing it up for the audience. Like, there's a reason you live this life. You believe it's an attractive lifestyle. Show it. Show how it is. Show how it impacts you, how it affects you, how it makes you happy. And slowly but surely, they may start walking into that. And bring around other people too.
Yeah.
That's also big.
I think that answers both questions, honestly. I think, first of all, it's important to acknowledge the harm that some people associate with religion, whether that's just a judgmental spirit or whether it's genuine trauma, like a cult-like experience. We shouldn't be surprised that evil tries to discredit communities of faith and, our faith by having people do evil things in the name of religion. What I think is important about what you said that I can relate to personally as a former atheist is whether we're talking about a husband who's not all in or a partner who doesn't want anything to do with it, the attraction level is so important because for me, I had a lot of prejudice about Christians because I just thought everyone was a judgmental Christian. I mean, pardon the irony that I was being judgmental and judging them, but that's a whole other thing. But self-awareness was not always a strong suit. And so anyway, what I think though is important is I met Christians who lived peaceful, loving, productive lives, who showed the love of the faith that they ascribed to, rather than just told me that a faith, is based on love. And I think that when we show it, rather than tell it, it becomes very attractive. And for me, that broke down those walls a lot. And also finding, different Christian writers, some who I related to more than ones I'd experienced in the past. But ultimately, it was attraction to people having what I wanted, frankly. I wanted a peaceful, loving life where I could look at people who had done me wrong and be like, you know what? They were hurting and God saw and I forgive them and I'm living a productive life, helping others and using my life for good and not I saw things that I was inspired by and people really walking the walk and not just talking the talk.
Well, think about the complete opposite, right? How many times do you think people actually came closer to God or converted or did anything because somebody was telling them, if you don't accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you're going to burn in hell?
Yeah. And by the way, if Jesus
tactic.
tells us over and over again to fear not, we shouldn't sell his religion based on fear. That's just my editorial there.
Yeah, but overall, that doesn't really sell. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to be like, okay, sure, I'm all in, I guess.
Yeah, sign me up.
But what a great example would be is think of Scientology. They promote.
Are we going to get in trouble for whatever's about to
happen? They'll probably start.
For whatever's about to happen here?
They'll start following me around.
This has all of a sudden become a very controversial podcast.
This isn't controversial at all. They've got all these famous actors. They've got all these famous, successful people. So you're like, wow, what are they doing? Because look at their success. And then you start peeling back the onion and you're like, all right, maybe not for me. Let's just leave it at that. But
to each their own.
But what got you there? Attractiveness. Not somebody telling you, get the aliens out of your body.
Yeah. A fair point.
Peel back the onion.
Just peel it back.
Peel it back.
Stinks. No, I just thought it was a funny thing to say. I'm not judging. That was a funny joke. It was a joke. It was a joke. Anyway, I think we've covered this topic.
Are you sure? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Maybe just pray. We can all start to pray for people who have had just, things done to them in the names of religion that might turn them off to a faith and a relationship with God. I think that's something we can all hold in prayer together and stand in the gap for those people so that they can find their way back to Him.
Yeah. And try to bring like-minded people around too. Mm-hmm. If your husband likes golf and some people that are in the faith that love set up a golf day or whatever. Just bring them around and again show that attractive life. I think it's a big help. So.
All
right. Okay. So end with a fun one. This will be our last one. Somebody asked us, what are our favorite movies?
Well, I know yours.
Do you?
I do know yours.
Pray tell.
I mean, we could shift the camera around and show the movie posters and the scripts and the books and all the memorabilia. It's The Godfather. It's the movie that most men would rank up there, but it's The Godfather, right?
It's The Godfather. A close second would probably be Top Gun.
Yes, that's true.
So
now, and what about the new one? Would those be your top three?
At this point, now they're interchangeable.
Okay.
They're like, yeah,
It's just
completely
one
interchangeable.
giant movie, like a 6-hour
Yeah.
epic quest.
Without a doubt. I will say, though, we went and saw Dune 2 in the movies, and that might be the greatest movie ever made.
I mean, that movie, I didn't pay a lick's worth of attention in the first
Yeah.
one, but the second movie was phenomenal.
Yeah. And I like old movies. So, like, Casablanca is a big one for me. So, I don't just, deal with, like, the new action movies and stuff like that. I do like old movies. So,
If you were to guess mine,
I know what yours is.
what is it?
Yours is Wedding Crashers.
No.
Like, without a doubt, whatever else you say is wrong.
No, there's a lot that I stop and get super excited about. But
Nothing like Sweet Home Alabama. You get very excited about.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
How to Lose a Guy in
The
10
Wedding
Days.
Planner. Oh.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, look, these aren't like the greatest movies ever made. They're just, to me,
Wedding
I just,
Crashers might be up there.
I mean, well, look, I will always stop on Wedding Crasher. I hope I'm not going to get judgment for that. It is the funniest movie, and the characters are just so, it would never be allowed to be made today. That's
why it's good.
It would never be allowed to be made today. But man, I always have him stop when we see it on TV. I'm like, oh, stop on this. And then I'll like recite the scene word for word and crack up just the same every time.
Thankfully, you don't make me stop when The Wedding Planner is on TV. You allow me. You know.
should be so lucky. That's a beautiful tale.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey.
Jennifer Lopez.
Do not disparage that era of Jennifer
It
Lopez.
was the same person. Just the internet. She didn't make a documentary
The
about what
Wedding
a psycho
Planner
she was.
is a phenomenal movie. I rest my case. It doesn't even need an argument.
Second. You got 2 Matthew McConaughey movies.
Okay.
In these 4. Something you want to talk about?
Yeah, because clearly Matthew McConaughey's my type.
All right. But you've never seen Dazed and Confused.
No, it's too old of a movie.
It was made in 1993.
But it looks really old.
Because it takes place in 1977 or 6.
I'm out.
It's a great movie.
I'm trying to think of like a really good movie that's going to give me like street cred here. I look like this little like lightweight movie fan.
Take a movie that gives you street cred.
Well, I like Walk the Line, but that's not. I don't know if that's street cred. But
Funny story about Walk the Line.
Oh no, I didn't bring it up so that you could air my.
Well, now we're gonna do it. Funny story
What
about
a way
Walk
to
the
end the
Line.
episode.
So in our wedding, we had a very unique wedding. We did do some Bible readings, but we also did specific readings, like just things.
I had a poem.
I'm a big
Maya Angelou poem.
I'm a big Johnny Cash fan. I'm also a history nerd. I did a letter from John Adams to Abigail Adams.
It's a very custom wedding.
As a reading.
Very bespoke.
I mean, yeah, this American flag's behind us. Anyway, so Walk the Line. I did a writing that Johnny Cash did about June Carter and how much he loved her and everything. And that's
It was very sweet.
Well, not that sweet according to what you thought was happening, because it was probably 2 years after we were married. By the way, since then she bought me Johnny Cash stuff to hang, so she appreciated it. Okay. 2 years later, we finally watched Walk the Line start to finish, and
I'd never seen it start to finish.
she goes, "They ended up together?" Yes, my love. That's why we did a reading at our wedding. I didn't do a reading about somebody loving somebody that he doesn't end up with. Not a great start to this union.
I didn't know. I thought it was just, a
But you
lovely
never even
sentiment.
said to me, like, Jimmy, not for nothing.
Well, here's the thing. We divided. We had a set amount of readings split between us, and we were like, you pick yours, you pick yours. Obviously, among Bible verses and Scripture, but among them were other kind of bespoke options. And I didn't want to be judgmental, and I was like, you let him choose whatever. Interesting readings he wants. So I didn't know that they ended up together. I assumed John Adams and his wife ended up together in that letter that you referenced. So I was 1 for 2, and then,
So what am I doing? Bringing the divorce rate into our wedding? 50% shot here?
No, I just didn't know that they ended up together and that it was quite the epic love story that it was. And then when I learned that and when we watched the movie, I became such a fan. And then I found out that Johnny Cash was in recovery for addiction. He gave his life to Christ and all these things. And I became a big fan over the years. You started as the fan. I started as, a loving wife supporting her husband with what I thought was kind of a strange pick for our wedding, but I supported you.
I appreciate you not being like Bridezilla and being like, well, you can't have this as a reading. But at the same time, if you didn't think they ended up together, that would have been an appropriate thing to bring up.
Well,
this is our wedding.
Love conquers all. I don't know. You know, like,
maybe do a Matthew McConaughey speech.
You know
in
what?
One of the many movies
when
he
he's
ends
leaned
up.
at the door talking to Jennifer Lopez, yeah, maybe that speech would have rung a few bells there.
No failure to launch, huh? Matthew McConaughey, just Sarah Jessica
look,
Parker.
all right.
A young Bradley Cooper. And Zoe Deschanel.
Oh, you know I like her. Somebody
is,
once told me my voice reminded them of her.
That's
And
not
that-
a compliment.
Bless you. I don't know. That was just something somebody said.
No, it could be a compliment. I'm kidding. I don't know. I'm
In
riffing
any
here.
event.
So those would be our movies, and that's our.
I still feel like I need some like classic movie.
So pick a classic movie.
Oh, It's a Wonderful Life.
She does like It's a Word.
I
That's
love.
That's not a put on. That's,
that's
a
a
legitimate thing. Like so much so that one year it was getting a little too close to Christmas, and we hadn't watched it yet.
I think I like burst into tears, didn't I?
It was tears and anger. I think
Oh, okay.
it was both.
Well, they usually
and
go-
it was all directed
They
at me
usually go side by side.
because I was picking the movies every night because we always tried to watch like a silly movie.
A Christmas movie in December.
but,
like, try for each night.
yeah,
It doesn't
no,
happen.
that's
But anyway, that I would watch that movie year round. I love that movie.
You listen to
And that
Christmas
is the
music
ultimate-
year round if I allowed it.
That's a pet peeve of yours.
It's not a pet peeve. That's a fact.
I once had a year where I started listening to Christmas music in July. And I would offer up a PSA to anybody who's feeling eager for Christmas in July, where if you start in July and you continue through August like I did, then you're going to be so burnt out on it that season when Christmas music starts playing, you're not going to enjoy it.
I'm going to give you my evidence as to why you should start listening to music when you do. Anybody that has Spotify Wrapped comes out December 1st. You know why? So all the Christmas music you're listening to for the next 3 weeks doesn't mess up your algorithm and infect your Spotify Wrapped.
I was enlightened when you pointed that out. I think you said that to me this last year. That was interesting.
Yeah.
And you were like, that's proof that you shouldn't listen to Christmas music beforehand.
Thanksgiving Sunday.
I retain my right to listen to Christmas music in November. And we're going to take it as agree to disagree, much like The Wedding Planner and much like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Because if we're being honest, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days might be a little bit above because she acts crazy. And I
am crazy.
Yeah. We finish each other's sentences.
Great.
It's amazing.
This is a
A
problem.
healthy, happy marriage.
Anyway,
That's been the episode.
I'm James Fenimore. That's at James Fenimore _
I'm Trisha Fenimore at Trisha Fenimore, and we are Holy Matrimony, the podcast at Holy Matrimony __.
And we will definitely see you next time.
For sure.
And a little bit more serious. Take
Maybe.
care.